It is not your trump card. It is not your clickbait to pull the audiences in.
I am taking films left, right, center, which was not how it was.
It's very good, yeah, you know, when people around you are doing really well.
I would be lying if I say I never aspired for this.
Taapsee and Vikrant, both of you have been part of the Haseen Dillruba universe before Sunny stepped in. Can you take me back in time when the film came your way? What was your headspace back then versus what it was when the sequel was offered? What changed in all these years?
You talking about when it released or
when it was offered? At that point of your career, what were you seeking? And at this time when it came your way?
So for me, probably it happened a little differently than him. I had heard about it from Kanika that she has a story of this sort. And I told her that, you know, I would want to hear it. And then I go to shoot a film and I come back and I hear that she's already narrated to some other actor and they're probably proceeding and locking things very soon. And then after a few months, I get a call from Kanika again saying, just quickly come to the office and hear the script now. Don't ask me any more questions. So then I came to the office and I heard it, and when she was narrating it itself, I started smiling, and then by the end of it, I just laughed. Before saying yes, no, nothing, I just laughed. I said, you know, ये मेरी किस्मत में थी. ये मैंने तुझे पहले ही बोला था. Then she's like, ये सब ऐसी बात मत बोल. Just tell me you're doing it or no. So yeah, so it was like instant yes for me, because this was something that nobody ever imagined me to do, wanted me to do, or never thought of me as a part of something like this. I'm not like the idol casting or something like this, apart from the grey part of things, because with anything grey and not right on paper, I'm the go-to person. इसके पास लेके जाओ. So apart from that, nothing was suiting my casting in this film, and that was probably the reason why I got excited about it, because this probably I will approach it, or I'll do it in a way that is not expected, not the ideal or the most obvious way of doing it, because when I'll do it, it'll be a little different than someone who's ideally perfect for a role like this. So that is what I thought, okay, now I'll get to test myself in a way that I haven't. And I did, and I discovered so much more about what I can potentially do, or what there are a lot of things in me that I've not really explored or exploited on screen. And then from there, when I saw the release, heard all sorts of reactions, first time experienced that how a film can make so much noise in good, bad, whatever way, and eventually all that noise gave us fodder to get into a part 2, because if you're not affecting or if you're not impacting, nobody will make noise for you. If they're making noise for you, that means there was something in the film worth making noise for. So I think it was the first time. Usually I've been very lucky with critics and film journalists and all of that, and when this came, first time I saw audience picking up my film way higher than what critics did and taking it to a part 2.
But Sunny, it's interesting, when the film had released and when, as Taapsee said, it was making a lot of noise, what did you think of the film? And which part of the noise did you belong to?
He was in that minority of quiet side.
So the thing is, the truth is, I'm very ashamed, but I hadn't watched the film. I haven't.
You haven't still?
Yes. But I will, I promise. मैंने promise किया हुआ है.
It's okay.
Before the second part releases and these promotions end, I'm going to watch it. I have watched it partially actually. I have watched it till Rishu is docile. I haven't watched your flip side in it actually. But actually it helped me approach this film in a different way, because Abhimanyu has nothing to do with where Rishu and Rani come from, right? And when but also at the same time, I am on that side, which is very fortunate that the first film worked as it did, because of which I am a part of the second film, and I got to be a part of this amazing universe, which is just, I'm telling you, bro, it's extremely crazy. Like when I heard the film, I had not heard anything of this sort. And I had the same reaction that she probably had after hearing the first film. It was an immediate yes from my end. And I was just crazy, and I asked Kanika, I was like, are you sure? Like, what made you think that you can narrate this to me and that, you know, I can be a part of this world because I love such stories. I love reading pulp fiction. I love reading murder mysteries and thrillers and everything. So I was like, bro, this is amazing, and it's just absolute fun. It was amazing to be a part of Rishu and Rani's world and come in there and get entangled in their world and love and mystery and betrayal and thriller, and just it's crazy, man.
Taapsee, I really want you to sort of unpack this for me. You and Kanika, whenever you guys have collaborated, there have been like extremely fireworks. There have been truly fireworks. How do you make, what is the collaboration like with Kanika that sort of results in these very interesting, flawed, complex, but real women? What is that sort of jamming like with her?
I think it comes from a place where we want to portray women that we relate to. And somehow, I'm not saying we are telling our stories, but we want our representation in stories. That's where it comes from. So when she writes, it's always like, she never considers women as either you have to be the Devi or you have to be the Diane. You cannot be, it's not like either or. It's like we are in between, and that's why we are humans. And she wants to make sure that that humanness is explored in those characters. And obviously, when a woman is pushed to a wall, the reactions are not always very predictable. So, and they have not been explored much in films over years. So it's kind of, the playground is pretty much open. And with Kanika, what happens is, whatever I've learned about her over years is, she starts developing script or making it meatier when she knows her actor, who's her actor. That happens to her a lot. So what happens is, she first tells me the idea that this is what I want to do, or this is the basic one-line idea. And she's like, are you on board this idea? It's because then I'll write it keeping you in mind. So that's how we have worked together, apart from obviously One Marziyan, because that was the first film we got on board. And then once she narrates me the idea, I like the idea and want to do something like that. Then she writes it, multiple drafts keeping me in mind and other actors who are on board in mind, and that's how we reach what we reach. But as I said, she is the sort of pioneer of sorts in making women relatable, real, flawed, grey, like any regular human being. She doesn't like to put them on a pedestal, but she wants to make her women do things with full honesty and integrity. It's not like they are doing because they want to do bad to someone. That's not where they're coming from. They are doing it because in that moment they felt, when I do, this is the right thing to do right now. Because they're too honest to themselves before anybody else. I think that's where her motivation of characters comes from, and hence it looks very different from, because I think most of others write female characters from the perspective of audience. Like how would they want the female to react? How would they want her to behave? She writes how the character would want, what does the character feel is right to do at that point, regardless of whatever everybody else might want her to do. So that, I think, brings about the difference.
It's true. Vikrant and Sunny, as actors though, when Haseen Dillruba 2.0, Phir Haseen comes your way, do you think, how will it land up with the audience? Because these characters they're doing things which can be difficult for everyone to understand. As an actor, does that play to both of you? Will this land well? It looks great on paper, but how will it translate?
I mean, you can try. You really don't have. You can't measure these things, whether they will or not. So whether you're in your pre-production stage or even during production or post-production, you try landing closer to the mark you aspire to land. But what the outcome is going to be is never in your hand. Nobody knows that. But having said that, of course you try. And especially you have the advantage of hindsight when you're making a second part. You can reflect on certain things to better them or to make it interesting, because you absolutely want your audiences to come back and give you the love and adulation and want to watch it, most importantly.
Is there something specific though, Vikrant, that you were conscious about in the sequel that, I'll not repeat that, or let's not repeat what we've done?
See, I as an actor I don't know, Sunny's method might be different. My method is I try keeping it very simple. What is written on paper is what you aspire to sort of achieve. And that is where you want to take that, leap of faith with the writer and the director. Yes, of course, you apply your own mind because you know the character, you've lived that character earlier, but it's an amalgamation of too many things coming together, no one person has an absolute say. So it is a teamwork. A lot of people come together to create the universe or the world. But having said that, the main crux of the question is, will it land? You really don't know whether it will or not. You just go out there and you give it your best because you trust what's written on paper. And you've spent so much of time on that already before you go on floor. So you end up having what you are convinced about. And that's where, it's, we are here promoting the film. We are hopeful that people will like the film. We love the film. We love the world. But will it be that way for everyone? We don't know. No one knows.
Interesting, but when I saw Haseen Dillruba, it's such a thrilling, pulpy film, right? And definitely a grammar that we were not used to watching it in the Hindi cinema space. I wondered though, we really talk a lot about action blocks. Like when we do an action film, how was that particular action scene choreographed, what went behind it? There was something about Haseen Dillruba which truly stayed was how tastefully the pulp or sort of, let's say, the intimate scenes were done. It was just so bang on. It never went, because it's such a fine line. You do one step more, it becomes extremely tacky. What is the art of doing that as actors? What goes into sort of making sure that lands very well?
I think that for the first one, I'll give a lot of credit to Vinil because it's a director's medium eventually. And the way he conceived it, he was like, this is what I need, and I don't want to kind of push it in any way to see अच्छा और क्या हो सकता है, in the process पता चल जाएगा. He was very sure of मुझे this much is enough for me to portray what I would want to portray. So that's where a director steps in and does the magic. As an actor, we had already communicated or had multiple reading sessions or conversations with Vinil before we shot any of the sequences. So it was very clear about his shot, how much he wants, how does he see it in the edit. So those communications were very clear. At least, all the scenes that I had done in the part one, Vinil and I had multiple conversations about what and how much he would want and how much he would like to keep, and in the edit as well, like as an output point of view. For especially the intimate scenes, he was very clear and very, very to the point about what he wanted.
Right. For the two of you, was there any sort of discussion that you do have with your director?
Like Taapsee said, it's eventually the director's call. Aesthetically it needs to be pleasing. But what also we were very mindful of, especially during the first part, was we were confident of the world we were building. So you really did not want to use those intimate scenes as a clickbait to pull the audiences. When your narrative is weak, when unfortunately, and we see it at most places, when your narrative is weak, when you're not really confident about certain things and you want to pull in the audiences, so people kind of exploit that those sequences to pull in the audiences. Here it was not the case. And I'm glad you used the word bang on, and it seemed that way once we saw it, even after the edit, is because it is taking the narrative forward. It is not your trump card, it is not your clickbait to pull the audiences in. And Vinil is an extremely experienced director. He's one of the greatest directors in the advertising industry for the last 20 years. And he has so much of experience. So as actors, all you have to do is just go out there, have faith in him. Or anybody for that matter of fact, even with Jaiprad when he came in the second part. Very experienced guy, a very firm head on his shoulders. And as she said, because you've spent so much of time during your pre-production stage, and these are not the kind of extravagant films wherein you're sitting on set with 250 people waiting and thinking what to do. You can't do that. These are very tightly budgeted films. There is a certain sense of responsibility that all you have to do on set is go and execute. So all your preparation has already happened prior to that.
Correct.
So by the time you're there filming, I think all of the questions, all the fluff is already cut out.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. So Vikrant, what's the air like after 12th fail? A lot of people, of course, are online.
There's more oxygen in the air. Or how are you feeling?
How does it feel like? A lot of people, of course, want you to win the national award, and that's a charter that's growing online. What does all of this feel like?
Feels very surreal, honestly. and I would be lying if I say I never aspired for this. You know, I've always aspired for this. To be standing in Rashtrapati Bhavan, you know, being honored by the president of your country has been my lifelong dream. But that dream is yet to realize. So I'm loving the support. I'm loving the chatter that is happening online. People are really sort of rooting for me. But then, having said that, I think, I mean, it's a surreal feeling. What else? क्या ही बोल सकता हूँ?
I was counting, Taapsee. I think post-pandemic, you're the only actor who's done 10 film. Like, this will be your 10th
You
film.
know, this is not really planned. That's actually, I'm not sure if that really landed the way I wanted it to land. I had kind of did the mistake of over planning my successive years, where I thought every year I'll have 2 releases is what I planned. But what happened the year of Thappad, 2020, Haseen Dillruba was supposed to release the same year. I was shooting for Haseen when Thappad happened. But we had lockdown, so nothing released until 1.5 year. More than one, yeah, or almost 1.5 year. And then we had Haseen. And the year of Haseen, I only probably had Haseen. So, no, maybe one more film. But I had planned 2 films every year. But it so happened I could only have one. Everything got piled on, and then it started coming out like as a burst, which was not really the way it was planned, and it started looking like as if I am taking films left, right, center, which was not how it was. Only up until Donkey, when finally I was like, okay, now things have kind of, my backlog of sorts has gone out, and now there'll be like 2 films in a year. This is exactly how I had planned things. So now it's, but again, it has gone to the other extreme. So now I wanted only 2, but I didn't want 2 back to back. You hardly have a week between the 2. This is not how I wanted 2 releases. But thankfully, it's like one is theatrical and one is on Netflix. So it'll have its own platform. It's not eating into each other's space in a way. So that is fine. And they're very different genres. And my character is like, it's almost like, oh, this looks like a different human being altogether. That's very comical, very like, in your face comedy. So it's it's fine, but again, it's not gone as per plan, and that's why, guys, I say life is what happens when you're busy making plans.
Yes.
Profound words from
I know.
Someone else said it, guys. Don't give me the credit.
You have the memory and recollection.
I'm
to say
living it. I'm
you're living
a
it.
personification of this line.
Yeah, but these things are beyond an actor's control.
You can't control.
Yeah.
Beyond an actor's control.
That's true. Well, it's a great month for you. I mean, there is, in the family, I can imagine, such a joyous moment. Vicky's film has just released, and people are loving it. You have a release next month. In August, Sharvari is now 100 crore heroine.
Yes.
What is the vibe like, Sunny?
Oh, it's very good, yeah. You know, when people around you are doing really well in their lives and doing what they love and what they've always imagined to be, you know, where they've always imagined to be, and when you start getting that kind of validation, it's very special to see that happiness, you know. And yeah, man, that's all I can say. Baki Haseen Dillruba dekhega.